Here's something that doesn't make sense. My friend Sarah and her husband bring home about $140,000 a year together. That's more than most households in America. Yet when I asked her how they're doing financially, she laughed and said, "We can't figure out where all the money goes." Does that sound familiar? Maybe you're in a similar situation. You and your partner both have decent jobs, your combined income looks impressive on paper, but somehow you're still stressed about money. You're still wondering why there's nothing left at the end of the month. Today, I want to talk about something that explains this frustration. It's called the two-income paradox, and once you understand it, so many things about modern life suddenly make sense. Growing up, most of us heard some version of this logic. If one person earning money is good, two people earning money must be better. It's simple math, right? Let's say one person makes $60,000. Now imagine their partner also makes $60,000. That should mean you have an extra $60,000 to save, invest, or spend on things you enjoy. You should be able to build wealth twice as fast. Except that's not what happens in real life. Not even close. Let me tell you about Jake and Michelle. They're both 32. Jake works in graphic design making $68,000. Michelle is a teacher making $55,000. Together, they're bringing in $123,000 a year. When they got married 5 years ago, they thought they were set. Two incomes meant they could finally buy a house, start a family, build the life they wanted. And they did all those things. But here's what they told me recently. They feel more financially stressed now than when they were single and making half as much. They have more money coming in, but it feels like they have less freedom. Something doesn't add up. Here's the thing that most people don't realize. Go back about 50 years, and most middle-class families had one person working and one person at home, and they made it work. Not because they were better with money, but because life was structured differently. A single income could cover a home, healthcare, raising kids, and still have some breathing room. But more importantly, they had something we've lost, a backup plan. If something went wrong, the person at home could start working. That was their safety net. Today, most couples already have both people working. We've used up the backup plan just to cover normal life. So when something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, there's nowhere left to turn. Let me walk you through what really happens to that second paycheck. This is where it gets eye-opening. Let's use Michelle's $55,000 salary as an example. That sounds like a lot of extra money, right? Let's see where it actually goes. First, taxes. Because Jake's income already pushed them into a higher bracket, Michelle's salary gets taxed harder. After federal taxes, state taxes, and everything else, that $55,000 becomes about $36,000 in actual take-home pay.
Second, childcare. Jake and Michelle have a 3-year-old daughter. Daycare in their area costs $18,000 a year. We're now down to $18,000. Third, the costs of working. Michelle drives 45 minutes each way to her school. Gas, car maintenance, parking, the occasional car repair, that's about $6,000 a year. Now we're at $12,000. Fourth, the exhaustion tax. This is the one nobody talks about. When both people work full-time, nobody has energy left for cooking, cleaning, or handling household tasks. Jake and Michelle spend about $500 a month more than they used to on takeout, meal kits, hiring someone to clean twice a month, and other convenient services. That's $6,000 a year. We're now at $6,000. Michelle works full-time, is away from her daughter 50 hours a week, and their household nets $6,000 from her income. That's about $500 a month. That's $2.50 per hour when you break it down. But here's where it gets really tricky. Jake and Michelle didn't plan their life around having an extra $6,000. They planned it around having an extra $55,000. When they bought their house, the bank looked at their combined income and said, "You can afford a $380,000 home." And they could, as long as both paychecks keep coming forever. Their mortgage payment requires both incomes. Their car payments require both incomes. Their lifestyle requires both incomes. They've built a life that only works if nothing ever goes wrong. And that's terrifying, because life always throws curveballs. What happens if one of them gets sick? What if there's a layoff? What if Michelle wants to stay home with their daughter for a year? They can't. They're locked in. That's the trap. You might be wondering, why did everything get so expensive that we need two incomes just to get by? Part of it is what happened with housing. When most families started having two incomes, they could suddenly afford more expensive homes. So what did everyone do? They started bidding against each other. Families used their combined incomes to outbid other families for houses in good school districts. Prices shot up. Now you need two incomes just to afford what one income used to buy. We all escalated together, and nobody ended up better off. The same thing happened with everything else. Healthcare costs, education costs, the price of living in safe neighborhoods with decent schools. Everything got bid up to match our new two-income reality. So what can you actually do about this? Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is depressing. I can't just quit my job. We need both incomes. I get it. But here's the approach that actually works, and it's what I wish Jake and Michelle had known earlier. Strategy 1. Build your life around one income. This is the game changer. Instead of letting your expenses grow to match your combined income, keep your fixed costs, your mortgage, car payments, insurance, at a level that one income could cover if it had to. I know a couple, David and Emma. David makes $80,000 and Emma makes $60,000. When they bought their house, they could have qualified for a $450,000 mortgage. Instead, they bought a $280,000 house that David's income alone could support.
Yes, it's smaller. Yes, it's in a less trendy neighborhood. But here's what they have that Jake and Michelle don't. Breathing room. Emma's entire income goes toward building wealth. They maxed out their emergency fund in 2 years. They're on track to have their house paid off in 15 years. And if one of them wanted to step back from work, they could. Strategy 2, track the real net value of work. Sit down and actually calculate what that second income is contributing after taxes, childcare, commuting, and exhaustion costs. You might be shocked. If it's only adding $500 a month, that changes the entire calculation. Maybe working part-time makes more sense. Maybe one partner taking a lower stress job closer to home makes more sense. You can't make good decisions without knowing the real numbers. Strategy 3, protect your flexibility. Think of financial security not as how much you make, but as how many options you have. The goal isn't to maximize income, it's to maximize flexibility. Build up savings so you're not 2 paychecks away from disaster. Pay down debt so you're not locked into massive monthly payments. Keep your fixed costs low enough that you could handle a job loss or a family emergency. Here's what I've learned. Having 2 big incomes doesn't make you secure. Having options makes you secure. Our parents and grandparents with one income had something we're missing, the ability to absorb a hit, to change course, to make decisions based on what's best for the family instead of what's necessary to keep the bills paid. You don't have to live like it's 1970, but you can learn from how they structured their finances. They kept their costs low enough that they had margin. They had a backup plan. They had flexibility. The families I know who are actually doing well aren't the ones making the most money. They're the ones who've refused to let their lifestyle inflate to consume every dollar they earn. Sarah, the friend I mentioned at the beginning, she and her husband are making changes. They're refinancing to a smaller house. They're tracking where their money actually goes. They're building their life around one income and using the second to build wealth. It won't happen overnight, but they're getting their flexibility back, and that's worth more than a bigger house or a nicer car. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your experience. Are you in a 2-income household that feels like it's not adding up? What changes are you thinking about making? Drop a comment below. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. I make videos about practical money stuff that actually matters to real people. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.